everyone, welcome back to another episode of To the Max Outdoors. I'm Matt.
I'm Max.
Today we're going to do a rust-oration of a single shot 16 gauge. We'll try to zoom the camera in here as best as we can. It is a Springfield Model 1929. Like I said, it is a single shot 16 gauge. I bought this gun myself. It's not a hand down. It's not a hand me down. I bought it myself. Max and I are going to just generally disassemble the gun and do a cold bluing process. I'm going to do a little bit of work to the stock here. Now, there again, we're not building a masterpiece. We're just tinkering around. It's a winter day, raining outside. We can't go out and do what we want to do, but we're just going to do something he can give it to his kids when he gets older. So there again, this isn't going to be a showpiece. This isn't a gun that we're going to hunt with all the time. It's just something we're going to talk about later on down the road. Max, go ahead.
Already checked the barrel, nothing in it.
Close it. You gotta just close it. Just close it. Close it. Max is just going to disassemble the butt pad part of it, just taking the plastic off of it. Somebody has tinkered with this gun over the years. Again, I did a little bit of research online about it. I don't know how old it is. There again, we're not doing anything to the gun to make it devalue it in any way. It's not worth a whole lot to begin with. It's more sentimental between him and I because we're going to do this project together. But nevertheless, all we're going to simply do is take the varnish shellac. There's a ton of varnish or shellac all over this gun. We're going to lightly sand it all off. We may end up restaining the stock. I don't know. It appears that it's got a couple different colors on it. I think it's a birch stock, maybe. I can't really tell. It's a bigger grain hardwood. So, long screwdriver. Get you a light. Can you see which way the Max is taking the bolt out now that connects the buttstock to the action here. Sometimes these are tricky.
It's tough to get.
Can we help you? Like I said, some of these bolts are trickier to get out. They're deep in there. This one's probably been in there for a long time, and like I said, somebody's varnished or shellac. There's a ton of stuff all over the stock of this gun. Whoever did it put it on with a shovel, I believe. But the barrel's not in horrible shape. It's got a little bit of pitting, a lot more surface rust than anything. But again, we're going to go through the process. Neither one of us are gunsmiths, so don't take any of this advice to heart. I have shot this gun. It does shoot, so if it doesn't shoot afterwards, we know it's probably Max's fault. But anyways, you go ahead and pull that up off there, and there's the stock off of it. Try to hold that, Max. Try to get it over here in the camera a little better. You can get some good light on it here. You can see that somebody has really laid the varnish to it. So, all right, go ahead and take the forearm off. Just hold the gun up. I'll hold the gun. You get the screwdriver and take that bolt there out of the forearm. This gun's just got one bolt that holds the forearm onto the stock.
Okay. It's like it's got a layer of
Try the other screwdriver. And try not to jam me in the hands.
The screws really dug in.
There you go, yeah. Neat thing about this gun, for being an economy gun of the day, this forearm mold actually has a brass insert pushed in it that's threaded. I mean, it's something different. I know a lot of days anymore, you know, the modern guns that you buy, a lot of that stuff's plastic anymore. I'm guilty of it. I hunt with a bunch of plastic guns. They're way easier to take care of on a bad day when you're hunting. You're not worried about wood swelling and all this good, happy stuff.
I've stripped this bolt
Keep
800 times.
pressure down on it and twist it.
There we go.
Yeah. This is a machine bolt down here. It's a fine thread machine bolt. So the other ones were just wood screws. All right, there we go. That's simple. Forearm separates from the action just like that. Again, it's had work done to it. So for the next part, what we're going to do is we'll break down the action and the barrel part here, and it should just simply pop right up out of there. I say simply. All right, we're back. The action's keyed onto the barrel. Let's see it. The action's keyed onto the barrel right there with a pretty stout spring. Just a little action block in the barrel. Now she comes right out of there. There you go, as you see there. So from this point here, what we're going to do is we'll take each part here, each metal part I should say. We'll separate the wood from the metal, and we'll do it in two different parts. This video will probably take place over a matter of a week or so. We tend to get busy of the evening, and what we'll do, we'll just work on one piece a day. You know, it's good not to rush a project like this. This cold bluing that we're going to do is not a process that you want to rush. So just we're going to take our time. Max is going to learn a little bit of woodworking. He's going to learn a little bit about steel wool polish and Scotch-Brite and all that good stuff. I probably will go ahead off camera here, and I'll take the trigger guard off of it here off camera. But that bolt, yeah, it's a straight screw. It's pretty bad shape. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that off camera, and just hang tight. We'll get back with you here shortly. Alright, welcome back here. Now everything's disassembled. We got us some very fine, it's red Scotch-Brite. It's very fine. Like I said, Max is going to work on the action part of it. I'm going to work on the small miscellaneous pieces here, trigger guard and the little barrel block here, and then I'll turn it over in the barrel. But just a general rundown. We're not going to video the whole thing, but just for I don't know, I guess a decent visual here. We'll zoom the camera in here. We'll bring it up. Let's turn the light on, maybe make it a little better. If you see there, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Like I said, it's not heavy pitted rust, but it is, it's going to take a little bit of work. There's the action. You know, there again, it's not super heavy. I think it's salvageable. We're just going to go ahead, and that's basically what we're going to do for the next few minutes. Said we're not going to video all this. Max is not much of a talker. Max is not a whole bunch of a talker, but that's just generally what you're going to want to do. And the name of the game is patience. You know, get all the surface you can. If you need to, get up, take a break. But what you're looking to do is to get all the rust off of it you can. Then when you get a nice shiny, you know, like a white metal, bare metal finish, that's where you need to start looking, and then you need to make a decision on whether you want to take more material off or just live with it. Pretty much in this case here, we're just going to go till we get everything nice and white bare metal. I'm not worried about the pitting in it. Again, this isn't a showpiece, and that's not what we're intending to do. But anyways, that's basically what we're going to do. We'll get back with you here in a minute when we get all these parts cleaned up, and we'll show you there. Alright, so we're back. So Max and I have spent probably a half hour, 40 minutes there with some red Scotch-Brite, which red's fairly aggressive in the Scotch-Brite world. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to take some some hops number 9. I know we're all familiar with using some of this hop stuff, hoppies, hops, whatever you call it. I know it's a bore cleaner, but this gun is pretty bad shape as far as filth and whatnot goes down in the action, but we're just going to clean the whole thing with it. I'm sure you can see me there. I'm going to wipe everything down, all the rust, dust, and whatnot that we knocked off of it, and this will give us a fairly good idea how good we did polishing the rust off of it. There again, there's some small pits in this gun, and we're not really overly concerned about the small pits and what's not on it, but basically what we're doing is we're going to give everything a good wipe down. We're going to try to get all the heavy gunk off of it that we got. I noticed the firing pin was kind of sticky in this gun, so the dude got us a brass and stainless steel brush here. I'm going to try to knock all the heavies outside off, and then I'll probably spend a little bit of time off camera cleaning inside the action. This hop stuff is fairly decent stuff, and I'm sure there's a better product or aerosol out there probably that would do that, but we're trying not to use aerosol stuff. We are in the house. We're in our little utility room / man cave, so we'll keep the chemicals to a minimum here. This hops isn't horribly awful stuff, but all I'm doing is just dabbing this rag here that I got in my hand. I'm just basically sticking my finger inside the bottle and getting it wet. That's all I'm doing. I'm not sloshing it around, trying not to go crazy with it. Only thing I'm doing is wiping off all the parts that we have cleaned. It seems to be doing a pretty decent job of cleaning the heavies, dirt off of it. Maybe old oil. I don't know. People back in the day used to use WD-40, and it kind of leaves behind a gummy, sticky, make things not work very well kind of film. So that's what we're doing, and like I said, hopefully it's going to let us know what more or less we need to work on towards the end here. Kind of going to let Max make the final decision on what level of finish we want, because like I said, we just playing around with this together. Alright, so I'm happy with the action, the trigger guard, and that barrel tension block there. Now we'll focus over here on the barrel a little better. I've always heard you wasn't supposed to use this Hops number 9 cleaner on a newly blued gun. Can't answer that. I've never really had a problem with it on any guns, but I've also never used it on a gun that had cold blue on it, so we probably will not use it after we cold blue it. Like I said, I understand that cold bluing is not a fix-all, cure-all. It's a temporary solution, basically. We're not going to spend the money to have this thing hot blued in salts like you'd do with something that you wanted to hunt with or keep. Like I said, this will be something maybe Max will kill a squirrel with, or tinker around shooting here or there when we go play around at the range or whatnot. But for the most part, it's going to be a wall hanger. Back when his grandkids are older, you can tell them about it. Right, Max?
Yeah.
Max is a man of few words. So, alright, now that we're pretty happy with everything, I am going to take a clean rag here. I know it doesn't look clean, but I'll assure you it is. And I'm going to try to wipe all the wet solvent off, all the hops solvent off. And then we'll get some alcohol wipes and we'll wipe everything down good, and we'll let it set and dry off. While it's setting and dry off, we'll move over to the wood part of it. We may take the wood part outside and maybe hit it with some power tools, make our job a little easier. Like I said, there's a bunch of varnish on it. Max, what do you think? You think the inspection's passing your inspection here?
I mean, it looks a lot better than it did before, so yeah. I think there's progress that can be made, but I don't know.
There again, guys, the name of the game here is the amount of prep work that you put into doing this job. It'll that's the result you're going to see. If you do a quick prep work and half-ass your way through it, then that's what you're going to get. It's a half-ass repair. We're going to try not to do that, not intentionally. That's what I was saying earlier in the video. This will take process over a couple of days. We're not going to sit down and do it all here at once. We're going to play around. Honestly, once we get done here, we're probably done for the day because both of us are hungry. So that's probably where we're going to stop. So I think that'll pretty much put us at the end of what we're doing. Try to zoom in here just a wee bit with the camera. Get her zoomed full in. Get our light turned on. And what we're ending up with is a fairly decent finish right there. I know you can't read it, but that's the side of the receiver that says Springfield Arms Company, Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts, USA. There's the other side. Like I said, there's still some bluing left on it. It's just really light bluing left. There's the barrel. That's the rolling part of the barrel. And there's the trigger guard. Like I say, everything's in the white. I'm gonna call it in the white. That's basically what you're looking for. There's no, at this point, there's no rust left behind. We're pretty happy with how everything has turned out to this point. Honestly, guys, I think we're at a stopping point right there for the prep work, we'll call it, of the metal. So we'll get back with you when we move on to the next project. Alright, so welcome back here. Max and I have probably got, at this point, we've probably got 2.5 to 3 hours in sanding the wood, part of the stock, the butt stock part, and the forearm part. Well, we've got way more time in it than we actually anticipated. The metal parts, I'm more than happy with them. Ended up getting a little more aggressive than I wanted to. Scotch-Brite actually wouldn't do it. We ended up moving into some 220 grit sandpaper. It turned into a tad bit of a bigger process than we thought it would, but nevertheless, we got 2 to 3 hours in it at this point. I did break out the power tools. I did break out the palm sander for the stock. This stock had 2 different colors of stains on it, and it had 2 layers of varnish on it. One layer was a gummy layer, and the other layer was a super hard layer, but it ended up going down to 120 grit on it. And as you all know, the coarser sandpaper you go, the more steps you got to get back to get where you need. But anyways, in doing so, we decided we're going to go with a dark walnut. Hopefully you can see it there. We're going to go with a dark walnut stain. The stock is not perfect by no means. We're happy with it, but it does have some color. I don't know if it's 2 different types of oil stain on it or whatnot. It's deep down in it, and we're not going to sand that deep to get down into them. So we're going to try this darker stain. If it takes 2, 3, 4 coats of this darker stain to try to get it pretty much one uniform color, that's what we're going for. And if it ends out dark, then it ends up dark. I mean, at this point, it is what it is. We got it to where we're happy with it, and we're going to go from there. So what we'll go through here is I'll just go through the first process of staining this. I'm not going to go through every single process. Like I said, I'm not a master woodworker by no means. I do it till I'm happy with it. We're going to do it till Max is happy with it. So What we're going to do in this little segment here is we're just going to put one coat on. I'm going to let it set 10-15 minutes after I put it on, wipe it back off. The instructions say 6 to 8 hours, and then we'll put another coat on it. So like I said, real quick, we'll put the first coat on. I am going to put it on with a brush. If that doesn't work out, then we'll go to rags. I do have everything extremely clean. We actually sanded on these last night. I've wiped everything down really good last night with alcohol. Everything's dry and everything's dust free, and I'm working on a piece of drywall here. You can see behind me here, we're hanging some drywall here in our little man shed, man cave, whatever you want to call it. So this piece of drywood here is sacrificial, so if we get stain on it, ain't no big deal. Mama ain't gonna holler at me or Max, so we're gonna be good to go. Hang with me here a second. And I have mixed this up. I've been shaking it for 10-15 minutes. Like I said, I'm just going to dip my brush in it. I'm just going to start applying this. I'm not dissatisfied with the brush here. I didn't really know how it would leave streaks in the wood with this brush, but it's okay. Not bad. Stain's one of them things, a little bit of it goes a long way, so depending on how well your bristles and your brush here soak up the stain here, you can get a lot done with a little bit. You don't have to pour it on, it don't have to be sloppy. I definitely do wear rubber gloves. You definitely don't want it on your hands. I'm sure most of you know that. Yes, get a dab more in there. And I am going to lay it on pretty thick because, like I said, I will let it set 10-15 minutes like the directions say, and I will come back and wipe it off. But as I was saying, there's a ton of imperfections, and I don't know, like I said, just darker, deeper colors. It definitely had two different colors of stain on it, without a doubt. So I've got the buttstock part covered to my liking. I'm going to move on to the forearm piece here. This forearm piece almost had like stock wax on it of a sort. They used to use stock wax. They may still use it, I don't know, but I do remember my great-grandfather years ago, after hunting season, he would wax his stocks down. I'm not really too familiar with that. I don't personally do it. Maybe somebody else does and know more about it. I remember it. I've personally never done it, but I don't know. This forearm part had a super gummy, slimy, really hard to remove finish on it. And yeah, I am going to go down in the forearm cut part of it here. Like I said, this is the first coat. Just trying to get everything as coated as good as possible. And yeah, I'm touching where you're going to see. I'll come back and cover that up. Like I said, this is all trial by fire here. I'm going to do it and see what turns out. And there we go. Everything's got one fairly solid coat on it. Well, there it is. We got one good solid coverage of everything on there, and we will come back in, I don't know, I'll be back here in 10 to 15 minutes. And I filmed yesterday's episodes were in 1080. Max and I watched them last night. I got a new camera here, an actual video camera, not a GoPro. And for whatever reason, it filmed in 1080 yesterday, and when we were watching them last night, the clarity wasn't there. So hopefully, this is now being filmed in 4K. Hopefully this is a little bit better. But I'll bring you back in 10-15 minutes here, and I'll show you the before wipe down and the after wipe down on the next little video segment here. So stick with me. Alright, so here we are. We're back. It's been it's not quite 15 minutes so far since we applied the first coat of stain here. I've been here in the area here, just doing a little partial cleanup here. I think I'm liking the color I'm starting to see, so I don't want to get it overly dark. I don't want to get it darker than it has to go, put it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to wipe them off here, and let's see if we can't get a decent picture here of what it is. But nevertheless, we're going to wipe them off. Yes, you're supposed to wipe them in line with the grain. That's what we're going to try to do here. Try to keep everything consistent, keep everything looking somewhat uniform. So we're just going to come, wipe everything straight up and down the grain. Forearm part of it, we'll just wipe straight up and down the grain. And we did do in the part here that touches up against the barrel, that did not take stain very well at all. I don't know if you can see up in there, but get the light on it just right. It did not take stain at all. Like I said, I don't know if that's a stock wax that's in there or a different type of stain from back in the days. You know, this gun could potentially have been made in the 50s. You know, it's really hard to tell what it is. Better chemicals back in the day, more powerful chemicals, whatever. I'm not sure, but we'll set that to the side for a minute. We'll come back. I'll show you that here in a minute. I'm going to work on the stock here, on the butt stock part of it. Again, wiping everything down with the grain. The comb part of it here, your hand weld part, the end of the grain has opened up a lot. I'm still not exactly sure what type of wood this is, but not real happy with how it took stain up in through the cheek weld and the hand part of like the grain's open there. It's a little softer grain. It's not in the hardwood part of it. It took stain differently. We did focus a bunch of time sanding in that area because that was definitely a different color and a different texture and consistency. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it definitely took the stain differently. There's no doubt about it. Sorry for that noise there in the background. We are in my utility room and the furnace just kicked on. It is winter time. It's been a little bit colder of a winter than we have had in the past couple years, but I'm not going to complain about it. But what we'll do is I'll get this all wiped down really good, and then I'll form my opinion of it, and we'll see what Max's opinion may be. Maybe we'll go for a second stain. Maybe we'll just leave it how it is. I'm actually fairly happy with it. I thought we were going to take 2 to 3 coats to get in a little better area, but Minwax did its job. It turned out pretty well. Trying to get it all wiped down a little more uniform. You know, when you're doing this kind of thing, you need to have some pretty good lighting. I do have LED lights here above me. Make a huge difference. You roll the thing around, see what you're looking at, see what you're wanting to see. You know, like I said over and over again, this kind of little project here, you know, you get out of it what you put in it. And it's with anything else. If you want something to look good or be good, then you need to put the time and effort into it. So there is the butt stock part of it. Get it rolled around here. I'll get it in the light. I think you can see it pretty well, and it turned out better than I expected. I don't know. I think I'm going to put one more coat on it, but we'll let Max form his opinion of it. There's the forearm piece all rolled around so you can see it in the light. And if you see up here, it took stain differently up here by my left finger. and it's the open part of the grain. It's where they've contoured it down and they've opened. I'm almost thinking this might be some type of pine maybe, because the fibers are open in the grain part of it. And dang it, it took the stain differently. I'm sure I had everything cleaned off of it. I'm sure there was no varnish or any kind of protective coating left. I mean, like I said, these were sanded with 120 grit with a palm sander. I mean, I was aggressive on them. Max was aggressive on them. It took a lot of time to get them back out smooth. And it had that different color on it prior to us starting, so maybe it's just the open end of the grain. Maybe it's a soft wood and that's the open end of the grain. We might take some steel wool and try to buff that out here once this dries. The directions on that Minwax does say 4 to 6 hours in between coats, so that'll give us plenty of time to let this dry out a little bit, let this maybe take on a tad bit of a lighter color now that we got it all wiped down. A little rag here. All that is one of Mama's old dish towels that I've cut up. Like I said, having this piece of drywall here makes a great sacrificial. Makes a great sacrificial piece. We'll go ahead and cut me another piece of this rag off here. Try to get as many uses out of it as we can. I'm gonna wipe her down one more time. Try to get this open end of the grain, like the open fiber part of the grain. Yeah, I know I went opposite the grain there, but trying to get that open end of the grain, get some of that color out of there, because I'm just really real happy with the way that turned out. The rest of the gun, the long grain part of the gun, I absolutely love the color. Open end of the fibers, where it's sanded down into the open end of the fibers, I'm not extremely happy with it. Nevertheless, we'll leave you with that. We'll bring Max back here in, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, and we'll get his opinion on it, because like I said there in the beginning, it is going to be his gun. So stick with me. We'll get back on the wood here. We'll probably do one more segment on the wood for as far as stain, and then we'll do one segment on the wood with some poly finish coat on the end of it. Again, we won't do the whole process of poly. We'll just do the initial coat on it, and then we'll move over into blue in the barrel. So stick with me. All right, so here we go. We're going to get started in on the on the cold bluing process here of the barrel and the action. We got the barrel block, the rolling part of the barrel block, and the trigger guard. So get my latex gloves put on here. I am going to be using this Birchwood Casey Super Blue. There again, it's Birchwood Casey Super Blue is what it is. Just real quick here, the directions on this, there again, remove all the bluing. Of course, they recommend their own products. They have a bluing remove stuff. They have a cleaner degreaser that's all made by Birchwood Casey. I didn't purchase it. I'm familiar enough with the metal process of this cold bluing and a little bit of a passivation process. Basically, you're not preventing rust with bluing. It's a passivation process. You can read about it. There's some science behind it. My line of work, I deal with it some, but nevertheless, we'll get beyond that. Directions here, like I was talking about, you remove the bluing, extremely clean. And what this tells you to do, it just says apply the blue with a saturated swab or a sponge. In our case, we're going to be using some Q-tips. I found that just standard old Q-tips work pretty good. So what it tells you to do is apply it all with a Q-tip, let it dry. It's not necessarily going to dry. Let it set for 30 seconds, rinse it off with cold water, dry it off with a dry towel, good dry clean towel. And then you're going to hit it with some steel wool. Now what I'm using here is just regular old standard, bought it at Ace Hardware. It's quad 0 steel wool, and it's supposed to buff and wax metal. That's what we're going to use. I've used it in the past. I'm pretty familiar with it. Like I said, my daily job, I do some passivating, so tad bit familiar with it. So anyways, I'll quit gibbering here and we'll get started. I'm just going to take all this is a denatured alcohol wipe. All this Corona nonsense going around, you can find these alcohol wipes. Now, that's not a hand sanitizer wipe. This is just straight up alcohol. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to wipe it down one more time. Max and I did clean them after we sanded them, but I guarantee you there's going to be some stuff left behind that we didn't get. This is kind of going to be our little final cleaning before the bluing goes on it. Now, like I did say there in the video, or wherever it comes out in sequence here of how I put them together when we go to edit it, but we did get fairly aggressive with the metal here. We started out with maroon Scotch-Brite, which is fine in the Scotch-Brite world, a fine texture, but maroon's fairly aggressive in the world of Scotch-Brite. It's not the most aggressive, but it's fairly aggressive. That did not work to our likings, so we actually ended up going with 220, 400, 600, and 800. Just standard old sandpaper. Pretty happy with what came out of it. Like I said, this barrel, I can't really do it any justice. This barrel's not deeply pitted, but it did have some decent pits in it. It's got a few bumps and bangs and dings on it. Like I said, this gun's from the 50s or 60s. I'm not real sure. Not a whole lot of information out there about it. Savage made this gun. You know, like I said, it is labeled as a Springfield. I'm not sure who actually built it, but I found a little bit on the internet about Savage making something very comparable to it. So I don't know, 50s, 60s. I don't think they made them past the 60s, so I don't know. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is, at some point, this gun probably did see some field use. Whoever had it, I'm sure, was happy to have it. Probably killed some squirrels, and you know, our area here, they probably turkey hunted with it. I'm sure they shot squirrels with it, rabbit. Who knows? I mean, it was a single shot, but back in the day of economy guns, you used what you had. Nevertheless, I'll quit running and we'll get going. Again, Birchwood Casey. This is the super blue. So my alcohol is all dried off here. I know I'm good. Rubber gloves. My barrel's good and clean. My work surface is extremely clean. I did flip the drywall around here. We did the other end of it there, but you're not going to see is the end with stain on it from where we did the gun stock part of it. So there again, I'm going to take my Q-tip, like I said, standard old clean your ear Q-tip. Now, I'm going to get myself here. The barrel's in the light, you can't see it, but I can see it. I'm going to get where I can see well. I dip my applicator Q-tip part there. It's kind of a blue tinge. And I'm just going to start applying it to the barrel. Like I said, it's a fairly neat process for those of you that have never seen it or never done it. It's a chemical process. I'm not sure exactly what the chemicals are, but it definitely is Captain Obvious of where you're applying the chemicals. I'm going to do my best at setting this camera up and trying to get a close-up, and I hope it comes out reasonably good, because I would really like for this process to be seen by those that may be interested in doing this process or want to know a little bit about it, or I just think it'll make a fairly decent video for those that maybe you got a gun that's handed down 2 or 3 generations old that you'd like to try to fiddle with, tinker with, do whatever. Like I said, I don't think you're actually devaluing the gun by any means, as long as you don't go aggressive and sand the serial numbers or recontour the taper of it, something like that. This process here, you could sand this bluing right back off with no real effort. This isn't a permanent process by no means. Cold bluing is not permanent by no means at all. And our intention is not for it to be a permanent showpiece, deep blued, ooh and ah gun that everybody and their brother wants to look at and touch and handle. That's not what this is about. This is just a little project for Max and I to have some time together, play around. Like I said, later on down the road, he can take it and show it to somebody, or maybe he can pass it down and tell a little story about it. I mean, that's the whole reason behind it. Here again, I will do my best to make a close-up video of how this actually works. These Q-tips, I do recommend it if you're going to do it. I would definitely do it with Q-tip. You can kind of, I don't know how to say it, you can kind of paint it on maybe. I don't know if that's the proper term or not, but you can apply it evenly and very consistently with a Q-tip, and you'll know when it's time to turn the ends of the Q-tips there, because you'll get filthy dirty from the black oxide part of the chemical process. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what Birchwood case he uses. You know, I know it's a chemical process, and I know you're kind of creating a rust of a sort. You're not. This definitely doesn't prevent rust. I believe that this is somewhere in the rusting process that you're doing to this gun. There again, I'm not a chemist nor a scientist, so, and I'm definitely not the people that make this stuff, so I'm not going to try to act like I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just going to tell you I'm a tad bit familiar with it. Like I said, I do it in my day job sometimes. It's a process that we use in the industry that I work in. I'm going to get us another Q-tip here right quick. That one's starting to get dirty on me, and Q-tips are cheap. Use a bunch of them. There's no sense in fudging the process up. You've made it this far. You've put the time and effort in it to get the barrel into condition, get the metal into condition that you're happy with. There's no sense in smearing dirt around, or I don't think it's dirt. It's just whatever the chemical process that's happening is getting on the applicator part of the tip. There's no sense in slouching on that for now, so buy you a box of them. Heck, you can buy a box of Q-tips at your local store for not much. If you're going to get into this part of the process, that box of Q-tips isn't going to be a determining factor of whether or not you do it. There again, it's pretty obvious to see where you have and haven't been with this thing. Like I said, it's a fairly simple process, I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it's difficult. I wish Max was here. We'd let him do this part of it, but we're running short on time, and I'm just going to take over and do this part of it. Our springs and summers get extremely busy. That boy plays baseball every day of the week that ends in a Y, I think. Ate up with baseball, so be it. I enjoy it, he enjoys it, so we're going to continue to do it. But nevertheless, I'm going to do it, and I pretty much got all the barrel covered with one coat there in that amount of time that I was talking. So there again, the directions, it does say to rinse it down with cold water. Like I said, I'm in the basement of my house. I'm in the utility room. Fortunate enough that I have a utility sink over here, so give me a second. I'm gonna go over here and run it in the water. I'll bring it right back. Hold still. Okay, made it back from the sink over there. I'm just taking a clean towel here. Again, another one of Mama's dish towels that she's done with. I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to wipe it down real good. What you're going to see is kind of a hazy finish on the barrel. Again, the camera and the lighting aren't great for me to show that at this distance. I will, like I said earlier, I will do my best to do a close-up view of this. Now, I know from personal experience using this cold blue, we're going to call it, in the past, that it will take 3 to 5, maybe even 6 coats to get it to the likeness that you like it. Now, that being said, again, just like I said with the wood part of it, the final product is a result of 1, your time, 2, your effort, and 3, what you personally want. You know, if you want a deep dark blue, then it's going to take work. It's going to take apply it, rinse it off, dry it off, steel wool it, apply it again, rinse it off, dry it off, steel wool it. You know, you'll get to a point where the metal really won't take any more of the coating. It'll run across the surface. It'll run across the surface and it'll kind of beat up, so to speak. Basically, the metal is only going to take so much. In my personal experience, the metal is only going to take so much of this cold blue. That's not to say that you can't let it set for 24 or 48 hours and it may take more. I don't know that. I just know that once you start this process and you apply it, rinse it, dry it, steel wool it, and apply it again, you're going to reach a point that the metal won't absorb anymore at that one time. So there we go. We're fairly dried off. You can see we've coated the whole thing. It is no longer white anymore. It is taken on a if you get it in the light, it's got a bluish, purplish, black tinge to it. And it's going to show you the spots that you didn't sand. You know, it's going to show you some imperfections from what you did as far as sanding wise. I mean, it'll make it obvious to you where you missed. This one here, I feel like we did a pretty good job on, from where we started to where it is now. Alright, sorry about that. A little technical difficulties there with recording in 4K with a small storage space disc there. But anyways, operator error, rookie mistake on my end. So, getting back to where we were, we'd come out of the water. We'd put our first initial coat of bluing on there. We'd come out of the water, come back over here. We dried it off. We were just getting ready to hit it with steel wool, and that's where we had difficulties. So, as I was going to say there with the steel wool, this is triple or quad zero buff and wax steel wool. And what I was trying to say is to try to go in one general direction with your steel wool. Try not to twist the barrel in your hand. Try not to do anything crazy. Basically, just like applying the stain to the wood like we did earlier. And all you're doing is knocking that haze off of it that first coat created. You're just knocking the haze of the chemical process that happened, chemical reaction that happened. And there again, get yourself in some good light, roll it around. You'll see what's happening. This barrel actually took the bluing extremely well, in my opinion. Again, we'll do a close-up video here right after this. We'll do a close-up video doing the action or something bigger process here. We'll test this new camera out, see how we're doing. I got my wife, Max's mom. She's the computer guru wizard. I got her on finding me a SD card for recording in 4K. If you guys would, whoever views this video, please give me a comment on what size cards you guys run when you're trying to video in 4K. brand new to this stuff, kind of clueless when it comes to technology. I just use what I have, and as far as figuring it out, that's what IT's for, and I'm not IT by no way. I'm ME, not IT. So, nevertheless, I'll quit my jabbering there and we'll get on about it. Like I was saying here with this steel wool, it's a pretty easy process to see where you steel wooled where you initially put the first coat on. Like I said, that first coat is going to leave a tad bit of a hazy finish behind. And I know the camera's not going to pick it up and the light's not going to allow me to pick it up, but the haze is kind of gone off of there. Now from that first coat, it appears that I applied it pretty well. I got a pretty even coat on it. I said earlier there 3, 4, 5, 6 coats, how many ever it takes. I'm not going to video all that process of doing every time of that because I think it'd be boring to watch and nobody wants to see it. So that cold blue actually did not affect the brass part of the BB up here on the end of it, so I was kind of concerned about that, but it didn't touch it, so we're good there. So without me running my mouth here anymore, I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to keep applying this bluing until I'm happy with it, and I'll bring you back here shortly with a up close video of the action in the white. I keep saying in the white. Anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about. I mean in the white, like I've sanded it down. There's no bluing left on it. It's down to the bare raw metal, we're gonna call it. So we'll do that in a close-up view on the action. You'll see the chemical reaction from the Q-tip applicator part onto the bare metal. You'll be able to see what I'm seeing, what's going to happen when you do this, and I think it'll make better sense to everybody. And stay with me there, and we'll get back with you there.
Alright guys, we're going to try to do a real close-up view here of how this super blue works. Again, just using the Q-tip as an applicator here, trying to show actually how this stuff actually works. Hopefully this comes out good on camera, but it really, if nobody's ever used this stuff before, I was just trying to get as good as pictures as I possibly can. That's why we're on 18 power zoom right now. I'm trying to get a good indication for you guys of how this stuff actually works. And as you know, this thing's pretty close to being in the white, I'm going to say, as a metal working term. And I do have a headlight on. Hopefully that's coming out. Hopefully it's coming out for you guys. I'm just trying to give you a decent close-up view here on the action of hopefully you can see that transition happening from the white metal that you have, and then when you're actually putting that super blue on there, you can, hopefully this comes out in the camera pretty well. But I just figured I'd give you a short little close-up view here and let everybody know that hasn't used this stuff before. There again, you know, we talked about earlier there, it polishes out really easy, so I don't know that the durability of it, so to speak, is going to be the greatest, but there again, for what Max and I are looking for, I think it's really going to be, I think it's going to be pretty much the finish that him and I are looking for. So hopefully you can see this. Here's this side that we just did, and then here is the white side. So let's do this white side here while we're on a close up here, and I'll start, get this in the center frame here. We'll start back here, and then you can just watch. You can just watch it. You can watch it turn. It's doing what it's supposed to do. The chemical processes are happening, and you know, I know some of you are probably scared of this process, or you know, wondering how it works. Hopefully this is a good enough close-up view. You can actually see. It's hard to stay in frame and do this at the same time. Hopefully this close-up view here brings everything to light for somebody that's maybe thinking about doing this or just wondering how the process works. Now I will flip the hammer up here and get the other side of, dang it, out of frame again. I will flip the hammer up here and get the other side of it once we get done. But anyways, just a short little quick view of how that happened, and hopefully the chemical process comes out there. Stick with us. Alright, here we are back after the first initial coat of the gun, super glue on this gun, and we're going to do the first pass of steel wool on this gun. Again, I got the camera on 18 power zoom, and I got every light on it I can get on it, hoping that you can see this. But after your first coat, after you had this thing pretty good into the white, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say into the white, because meaning that I had all the old bluing gone. The gun was nice and clean as far as the surface goes. It still had some light pitting on it, but as far as the appearance of the metal, I had everything in what I'm going to call into white. Now this super blue, it is a passivating process, so it is a chemical reaction, and in the video, in the little clip prior to this, you've seen the Q-tip going across, and you can actually see the chemical process going on as you do it. And what you're going to end up with is it's kind of going to be a hazy, tarnished appearance to the metal that you're trying to blue. It's going to look fairly, there you go, there's a good view right there. It's going to look fairly rough at this part. I found that this gun here takes about 5 coats, and what I'm going to try to show you here is you can see the tarnished appearance to it. I'm going to try to steel wool it to keep all this stuff in frame. I'm going to show you why I was saying that I'm not sure that the durability of this product is something you would want to do, say if it was a true hunting gun or something you were going to handle a bunch, or like a revolver, say, like if you're concealed carrying a revolver. I don't think that this process here would take in and out of the holster repeatedly. I don't, but I think for all practical purposes of what we're looking for, or if you're trying to touch up a gun, it might be a great process. Hopefully, I'll get this thing in the light here, and yeah, I hope it comes out on camera like I'm seeing it. You can see how that was just very, very light Scotch-Brite. Or I'm sorry, this is quad-aught steel wool. So there's this side. You can see the light is, it's beaming back off of it now. We'll flip it over to the other side. That's what it looked like prior. There again, let's try to do this other side right quick while we're here. You can see it. Like I said, it's 3, 4, 5 coats, whatever it takes for you to get happy with. But there, you see in that just little bit, just little bit of steel wool process there. You can see how it has taken the dullness, we'll call it, right out of it. Hopefully this helps somebody, and hopefully it comes out half decent. But just trying to show the process here. This is not the entire process. This is just a quick, what to look for while you're doing it. Again, I'm not a professional. I just know what I like. I know what I want to see, and hopefully this helps somebody. Stick with us. We'll get back with you.
All right, everyone. So here we are back. Hopefully that close-up view there, doing the action part of it, hopefully that made sense to everybody and maybe shed a little light for everybody to see how this process works and what it looks like. Now, I will tell you, this gun here, on our own personal experience with this gun, every item that you see here, trigger guard, action, barrel, and the little rolling part of the block that locks the forearm in. I'm not exactly sure the name of that, but the little part that rolls here on the front of the action. All these parts here got 5 coats. Now, when I say 5 coats, somewhere between the 3rd, 4th, and 5th coat, the metal started to get what I'm going to call saturated with the chemical. Now, I'm not sure if that's correct or technically right. I'm not sure. I'm just telling you the personal experience with this gun. Between the 3rd and the 4th coat on everything, it wasn't taking the same. As you were applying it, it wasn't taking the same. Like it rolled up, it beat it up, but it did not do that over the entire surfaces of everything. 4th coat, same way. It was more widespread. I'm going to call it beating, like water would on oil. And I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but that's how I'm going to try to tell you what it did to me. But the 5th coat, I felt like it covered it well. Everything took a nice, what I'm going to call blue-black finish to it. Here again, we'll see this gun better when we get it all put back into stock and everything together. But on the bottle here, it says to use their Birchwood Casey brand of I forget what they call it, rust barricade. I'm going to use some Hops number 9 lubricating oil. The only reason I'm not going to use rim oil is because that rim oil that I have has a Teflon in it. Does it make a difference? I can't tell you. I'm not a chemist. I don't know, but I know that this is just straight oil from reading the ingredients in it here. It's just mineral oil, liquefied petroleum gas, methyl acetate, which dries it out, and heptane. I think the heptane just helps propel it out of the can, but nevertheless, I'm going to soak everything good with this oil, and everything's been rinsed in water. The action has been underwater. All these pieces have been underwater because that's what the directions for this Birchwood Casey Super Blue says to do. Apply it, 30 seconds, rinse it off with water, dry it off, steel wool it. So everything has been underwater. I don't want water in my action. So I'm going to flush all the water out of there I can with this Hops number 9 lubricating oil. And we're going to go from there. And that brings up another point about water. A little bit of the chemical does come off in the sink. There again, I'm in my basement, I'm in a utility room, I have a utility sink. I wouldn't recommend putting it in your own stainless steel kitchen sink or plastic kitchen sink. I wouldn't do that if you like sleeping in your own bed. I'm sure Mama would get real mad with you. But nevertheless, that's where we're at. I'm going to soak everything down with oil, and I'm going to put it up. This is the 2nd day of us working on this gun, and I said it earlier, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again at the end probably. Don't jump into this process thinking you're going to do it in an hour. It doesn't happen that way. If you do it all in an hour, it's going to look like you did it in an hour. It takes time, it takes patience, and you're going to get a product that you're happy with. I couldn't be more pleased with the way that this turned out. Does it still have some small pitting in it? Absolutely. It's not a show gun, guys. It's not a show gun. It's a 5-10 foot gun, and that's exactly what Max and I did it for. Little father-son time, something he can hand down, play with, tinker with, whatever. It doesn't matter. We did a project together, and we both had fun at it, and we got a pretty good result out of the end of it. And we'll bring you back here. Oh, we'll bring you back. It might be a day or two. The week's getting ready to start, and we'll all be busy, but we'll do some short video and here and there, and we'll try to keep this video short. I'm sorry for making a long video. I didn't mean to drag it all out, but I thought it was kind of crucial. I've watched some YouTube videos on how to do this, and they're kind of spotty and go around, and maybe not as meticulous as I am, or maybe more meticulous than I am. But I think the way I did it was the way an average person would do it. I'm not super critical about things. I understand what it is, and I understand what it's going to be. So keep that in mind. If you take a project on like this, Just keep in mind that effort in is results out. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but that is what it is. So again, I'm going to oil this thing, put it up. It may set a day, it may set 2 days. I'm not real sure until Max and I can put it back together. Appreciate for watching. Appreciate you guys for watching, and I'm sorry for keeping it long, but stick with me. There's just one more segment left where we put the gun back together and show everybody. All right, everyone, welcome back here. We've got our finished project of our Springfield Arms Company Model 1929 single shot 16 gauge. We're going to let Max give his opinion of it here real quick.
It looks a lot better than it did. Like, it doesn't even look like the same gun. The stock, it's a little bit less
Dark?
Yeah, than the rest of the wood, but I mean, it's made a lot of progress. It looks a lot different.
So, just for a little filler here, I know you guys will watch this video all at one time, but this project here, we probably got 8 to 10 hours in it over the matter of, let's see, we've got really about 7 days in this. Now granted, it's, you know, an hour here, an hour there. When you get down to the woodworking part of it, you know, you got to stain it and let it set for so many hours, but nevertheless, I think it turned out pretty good. I think Max is happy with the gun. This is all filmed on a brand new camera to us. We stepped up and bought a true video camcorder. This is not done on a GoPro. Still learning it. The beeps in the segments earlier in this video is from the remote. I have to do more research on my end, figure out how to get rid of them beeps. I'm sorry if it aggravates anybody. I know editing the first part of this video with earbuds in, it's pretty annoying, and maybe he'll figure that part out because he's more adept to IT world than I am. So anyways, Max, give him a close-up view there of the, try to give him a close-up view of the gun. Everybody can see, it really did take a really good, deep, dark blue for cold bluing.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. For cold bluing, I'm extremely happy how the metal turned out. As far as the wood goes, I mean, that's all to your own opinion, your own liking on it. You know, like I said, we did go really aggressive with the wood. Still not sure what was on it from the original. Wax, shellac, varnish, I don't know. It had 2 collars on it, and it had multiple coats of varnish on it. That was the work. As far as the metalworking part of it went, like I said, we hit it with 220 sandpaper, got it to what I'm going to call in the white. Then we smoothed that back out with maroon Scotch-Brite, which maroon is fairly aggressive in the Scotch-Brite world. Took it back down to a gray Scotch-Brite, which was ultra fine, and then final steel wooled it, cleaned it off really well, and then hopefully the close-up shots in the earlier segments showed exactly how that cold bluing, how that chemical process works. It was neat for me and him to do it together. You know, this gun is made between 1929 and 1948 from the research I found. So it's pretty neat to have a gun that could be, you know, 80 years old, we'll say, 70 years old, and you know, he's still he's a young teenager right now. So if it makes it another 80 years, you know, that's something pretty cool that he'll remember back, and maybe he can tell his grandkids about it. Or we will try to make a future video, you know, maybe this coming fall. We will try to get this gun out and do a squirrel hunt. We'll try to go on a youth day early on in September, and hopefully we can video that, you know, this gun shooting a squirrel, and maybe we'll start a tradition. So all in all, thanks for watching this 2 to Max Outdoors. I'm Matt.
I'm Max.
And hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.